Our guest today is a talented singer, guitarist, and songwriter. She is getting ready to release a new Halestorm album. So let's talk with Lzzy Hale, one of the most charismatic artists in this industry. Hey Liz, it's a pleasure having you here.
Great to see you too. Thank you so much for that lovely intro. It makes me feel good about myself. So thank you.
My pleasure. Before we talk about the new album, I would like to chat a little about the beginning of this year. The Living Room Sessions was a short and different tour with just you and Joe. Usually, songs are born with an acoustic guitar and transform into something bigger in the studio. So, what was like this intimate acoustic experience like?
It was actually kind of the reverse of that. We were taking our well-known electric songs and then more or less expanding them in an acoustic way. Um, if I'm being honest, Joe and I were doing the living room sessions really as kind of a selfish act. When Joe and I first met in 2003, we basically decided that we never were going to have a normal job ever again. I was working as a waitress at the time at a place called the Waterway in York, Pennsylvania, and I'm a terrible waitress, by the way. I can never go back. Um, which is why I work so hard at this music thing. But and he quit his part-time job and it was just we decided to learn 4 hours worth of material, both original and covers, and just go take over the bars in Pennsylvania in between Hailstorm shows. And we loved it so much because we were so it was a lot of freedom. We were completely in control of anything we wanted to do. We could do, no one could tell us not to. And it was never just an acoustic show. You think about acoustic shows as being very mellow and everybody sitting and kumbaya and having a good time. This was not that at all. I was jumping up in high heels on the bar, starting in the back and hiding in the audience, and like do like we would do AC/DC covers and Zeppelin covers and Heart covers and do all of our originals as well. And so it was such a wonderful time. It was kind of us deciding to take the reins, and control our own lives. So we more or less wanted to relive that and show people what we could do in that type of environment. And so it was such a great run, the living room sessions. Truly kind of a life-changing experience because I was more or less off the guitar. I was coming, in and out of playing some instruments, but I was mainly being a singer, which at first I'm like, I don't think I've, ever really done this before, just like, okay, like let me try to just be a front person. And I found out I'm actually pretty good at it. So so got to kind of express myself in a different way. And we were taking requests. There were so many shows where, because Joe and Josh were not there, the audience was singing all the backing vocals, all the call and answers and anything that they knew. So it was very much a almost like a community sport.
So, when we think about an album, each person has an emotional memory linked to those songs that are the soundtrack of that moment we listen to that music. In your case, as someone who created and put your voice and feelings into this new record, what is the first frame that comes to mind from this whole process that culminated into Everest?
Everest was such a journey of self-discovery, as or should I say self-rediscovery. It was a process of me not only systematically shedding some things that no longer served me, making some promises to myself, making sure that I was in it for the right reasons, but also saying exactly what I wanted to say without worrying about what the audience might want me to, what our fans might want me to say, what a label might want me to say, what radio might want me to say. This was very cathartic. I'm not the same person I was going in as I am now coming out on the other side of it, and I'm very proud of that. Because of all of that, this album turned into kind of a darker record. It's not a record of doom or despair, but it's also not necessarily a record of hope. It's absolute utter reality. And the way that we were recording it was, in the very beginning, we did the album with legendary producer Dave Cobb. And we went to Savannah, Georgia. We were in a house, his studio house, which is hooked up, ready to go, every instrument you could ever want, hit record in the morning. And and we were there unsupervised. There was no wives, no girlfriends, no kids, no nothing, no friends, no distractions. So we all felt like we were about 19 years old again. It was really crazy how like we just kind of came back to that mindset. But the oddest thing about this record was how it was written. The first day we went into to record with Dave Cobb, we came in with all of all our whole big bag of tricks, like I have songs that I'm writing all the time. So like I have songs for days and riffs and all these things. And Dave Cobb looks at us and he says, "Oh no, I don't want to start on anything that you've started before. Nothing that you've started at home, nothing that's half written from a year ago, nothing like that." And we were like, "Uh-oh." Now we're completely unprepared, right? He said, "No, what I want to do with you is I want to every day, who's got a fresh idea? What are you feeling today? What hurts today? What are you enjoying today? What are you grateful for today? What are we thinking?" And as we are writing it, we are going to be recording it in real time. So when you listen to songs like Darkness Always Wins or Everest or any of these songs, you're actually hearing us discovering the song for the first time. And a lot of these are our first or second takes. It's very raw, real, and in the moment. What happened with that is that we had no time to overthink anything, no time to try to be people pleasers and be like, okay, well, what's trendy today? What's on the radio? What do you think the fans are going to think? What do you think our management's going to think? What do you think the label's going to think? None of that. What do you think our family is going to think? Not at all. We had no time to even consider that. So what came out was really just our raw and unfiltered truth. And for me, as a lyricist, I went through a complete roller coaster ride of more or less finding myself again, I guess I should say, in the simplest terms. During the last album cycle, I was going through what I can only I guess what I can only say is a kind of a depressive state. I was going through a lot of imposter syndrome. There was a lot of things that were coming at me that I wasn't necessarily able to handle, or I was able to handle outwardly. But I was on a road to more or less an emotional suicide. I just wanted everything to stop. I couldn't balance myself while maintaining my own personal happiness. And through the making of this record and writing this, I found myself again, and I'm happy to say I'm in the sunset of that imposter syndrome. And I'm not striving for perfection. And I'm not striving for, I'm not putting up a wall of fear in front of myself the way I maybe used to. Because what I've realized is that, if you are rock and roll, all you have to do is exist. You don't have to try so hard to be hard. You don't have to try so hard to be liked. Again, something that I didn't think about on this album because I didn't have time to think about it was, am I going to be loved or hated for what I'm saying on this album? Because the truth is that you can be maniacally loved or you can be maniacally hated in this business, but all that really matters is what you think about yourself. So, in a way, it was a huge selfish act, and we're really proud of it. I can't wait for everyone to hear the whole album.
When I saw Halestorm 2 years ago, it was amazing to see how a band can have fun on stage, bring humor, good energy, and especially talk about serious subjects in a performance. And I liked how you can hear all of that from the new songs from this new record, because the sound is very organic. How important is playing live in the relationship that the four of you have as a band?
We have always been primarily a live band because we came from very humble beginnings. For instance, my dad was a third shift mechanic. My mom stayed at home, occasionally cleaned houses to make ends meet. We lived on a 20-acre farm. We baled hay to the surrounding, we farms to again make ends meet. We never felt poor, but when we started the band, I was 13 and my brother was 10. And we started playing out in bars and coffee houses and bowling alleys, anywhere they'd let us play. And the band was more or less our life raft, but we never had really any money to make albums, and even after Joe and Josh joined in, we were all, living 2 feet from each other in whatever vehicle we were rolling around in. And I remember there was a long period of time where we were having peanut butter and tortilla chips for lunch every day because that's all we could afford. So really we've cut our teeth by being in front of people. There was always something about writing a song and then playing it out live for the first time. You immediately know what's right and what's wrong. And it's almost like the audience is like the special sauce. It's like we can, we can make the meal, but they offer the kick in the pants. And so even our first experiences in the studio, we didn't have enough money to like spend a week in the studio. So the guys that would own the studio would say, okay, we'll give you 6 hours. How much material can you do? And so we would end up playing live. Most of our early recordings are just, us playing in a room together because that's all we could do. So I think it's definitely the foundation of what makes us who we are. And I think since we got signed in '05, we have been slowly but surely trying to make our way back, the long road back to the beginning of how do we meld these two? How do we put out, a recorded album, but not let the life get squished out of it, not overshadow the human element to it. And so that's something that Dave Cobb was very gracious to help us recreate, and he definitely did it because there were certain moments in the studio where we were like, what are we doing? I have no idea what's happening. And then all of a sudden, like the song would open up and then you could see it. You could see the forest from the trees. You're like, oh, wow, we just did that. That's crazy, and especially with the way that we are, and because I think that we're all extremely bad liars. So something else that came into play, and something that Dave Cobb was very good at helping with us, kind of being a spirit guide. And if he felt any of us getting bored or getting too comfortable with a certain part of the song, he would stop us right away and be like, okay, let's pivot. Let's go to the cemetery down the street and read some words in the tombstone and get out of our heads, and then we'll come back and we'll start fresh. And it's like that kind of thing. So we'd wake up every morning and we'd be like, okay, who's got an idea, who's got a riff, what's going on? And then we would more or less almost finish a song probably about around dinner time. Then we'd take a break, and sometimes we'd completely abandon the song and start on something new if somebody was excited about something else. So it was just complete chaos. But then it's so crazy hearing the album in its entirety now, because even in its sequence, when I listened to it for the first time just in order, you can hear our story. You can hear all of the little things that make up who we are. And yeah, it's really crazy.
And on Everest, your writing and voice are more artistic than ever, as in Ray Your Blood on Me and Fallen Star, for example. How did transforming poems into lyrics and finding new ways to use your voice help you express everything you were feeling?
Well, something that I think for many years I was kind of ignoring is how important poetry has been to my writing process. It's something that I used to do as a kid, and really up until about 2005 when we got signed to a label, where I was like, oh, why am I writing poetry? I should just go right to the song. I'm wasting time, I was a kid. I thought I had it all figured out, But when I was a teenager, I would write the poem first, and then I would basically break the poem apart, and then that would become the song. And again, this is something that I kind of lost over the years, and almost, oh, that's just a hobby. And on this album really rediscovered the importance of that. So I was more or less waking up every morning. I would go out. We were kind of next to a river in Savannah, and I would go out on the porch and just basically spill my guts onto a couple pages of paper. And then slowly but surely, what I realized is that most of those thoughts were, again, in real time, exactly how I was feeling. And it was more like through writing the poem and then through creating the song thereafter, it was almost you're realizing something about yourself, and you're solving problems. It's like you're putting the puzzles together, the messy puzzles in your head. And so it's almost like I got to conquer a couple things. Got to conquer some fears, or I got to conquer some new attitude situations that maybe I had suppressed over a couple years that are now slowly but surely seeping their way through the cracks. And then I was given the freedom to say whatever the hell I wanted on this record, which I still don't understand why the guys in my band trust me with words. It's hilarious, but they really should stop me sometimes. But yeah, it was really wonderful, and through that, that kind of broke it open it with songwriting, because what I realized is that as I'm writing a song, I'm never actually alone when I'm writing the song, even if I'm writing it by myself, because I have inside of me, I have my inner child who's about 10 years old. I have my reckless teenager. I have my old crone who doesn't give a fuck anymore. So it's kind of always this like co-write with yourself. So yeah, I was just having so much fun watching myself outside of myself kind of become the person that I've always kind of wanted to be. But I wouldn't have discovered that without writing this album.
Still talking about the songs on the new album, they are heavier than the previous works and the vocals are even more powerful. Those who have already seen a Hailstorm show know that your vocal delivery is always 110% compared to the studio. So, as vocalists constantly singing live and in the studio, how have you felt your voice's evolution over the years?
Quite a bit actually, and this started probably about 2 years ago, where I'm proud to say that I hardly warm up anymore. It was a very important part of my training when I was a kid. So it started, I mean, I started singing very early on, probably when I was about 9 or 10 was when I first discovered my voice. We were living in a log cabin in the woods along the Appalachian Trail at the time, and I was a very shy kid, and I wasn't brave enough to sing in front of my parents or my brother or anybody. So I would run out in the woods. I would climb my favorite tree, which was a dogwood tree, and I would sing into the woods. I would scare the bejesus out of some squirrels, and then I would pretend that the leaves were the audience and were clapping for me. But when I was 16, I started vocal lessons with a man named Steve Whiteman, who was in a band called Kicks back in the 80s. He taught me how to warm up and how to and where all of my resonance areas are, like a lot of the technical things that all the tools that I use today. Then in my teens and 20s, I was warming up for probably about 30 minutes to an hour every single time I would perform. And that lasted into my 30s. But there's something happened around when I turned 40. It's almost like, because I've been doing this so long, 28 years in Halestorm as of August 9th this year. Because I've been doing this so long, it's almost like my body already knows how to kick into gear. So I know exactly how my body feels every day. So you almost less you kind of take an inventory every day. Like, so unless I catch a cold or something like that, it's almost like I'm ready for anything anymore, and I sing with a lot of ease. It feels like breathing to me now, or having a comfortable conversation. And I'm not saying this in any egotistical way. It's something that I've surprised myself with over the past maybe year and a half, where I'm very proud to say that I am in a category that I never thought that I would get to. Whereas this is something that a lot of my idols told me about when I would ask them advice about vocals. For instance, when I got to talk to Ronnie James Dio back in 2009, when we opened up for Heaven and Hell, and he pinched my cheeks, and he said, "Oh, you got it, kid. You have the voice." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you." And he was telling me about this, about how every singer goes through a couple different stages, and as long as I don't screw it up with drugs and alcohol, I will finally get to this stage. So I'm very proud of it, and you never know, things may change, and I may have to put myself through training again, which is lovely. I actually found all of my old cassette tapes that were my old vocal lessons. We would record every vocal lesson. So years ago, I ended up putting myself through kind of my own little boot camp, going back to the beginning of my training. And I think that helped a lot, but I have a really wonderful foundation. I basically, every night, I walk out on stage. I break through that fear wall, because fear has nothing to do with it. You can't put up that wall, or you are never going to reach the magic. And I let My I let my body and my spirit do the rest of the work, and it's wonderful to be able to say that I'm truly in the moment now on stage.
Speaking briefly about the Black Sabbath final show, when this type of invitation happens, how do you imagine that Lizzie from the early 90s, who was listening to the band's albums and learning Iommi's riffs with her father, would feel?
Oh my gosh, she would have never believed it. Not at all. It was an unfathomable dream that has now come true. Even if a future version of me decided to tell her that that is actually going to happen. Yeah, it would have been completely mind-blowing for her. When we got the email from Sharon Osbourne and her team about inviting us to be part of this celebration of the grandfathers of rock and roll and heavy metal, I didn't believe it. I didn't answer the email for like a couple hours because I'm like, is this a joke? Is this meant for someone else? This is incredible. So I'm so incredibly honored, and I'm sure you've thought about this as well, but something that we've been talking about is just imagine how many bands would not exist if not for Black Sabbath, the inventors of heavy metal. The first riff I ever learned on guitar was Heaven and Hell by Black Sabbath. The only reason that my name is spelled Lzzy is because back in the day, a super fan that was hanging around with us in our local scene in Pennsylvania was in love with me, but also in love with Ozzy Osbourne. And so before shipping was a thing, she shipped both of our names together and named me Lzzy. So if there was no Ozzy Osbourne, there would be no Lizzie. It's crazy to think about all of these little things and little decisions that were made or the riffs that you write and even now we've all been asked to do at least one Sabbath cover to pay tribute to the men at the event. And as we were, I can't tell you what we're doing, but it's amazing. It's one of my favorite songs by Black Sabbath. And as we were learning it as a band and I'm playing Tony Iommi's part, it was uncanny because I had never learned this particular song before, but it's like the positioning of the riff is very natural to me, and I feel like it's just something that has seeped into my psyche, into my foundation of why I am the rocker that I am today. So I mean, I couldn't tell you, like, there may never have been a hailstorm if Black Sabbath didn't exist. Lord knows, most likely everybody that is going to be there paying tribute, I'm sure none of these bands would exist without Black Sabbath. So we're very, very appreciative that we've been asked. And I'm very honored to say that I've been the only female asked to be there. And so I was talking to a lot of my sisters in this business, Amy Lee and Taylor Momsen and Maria Brink and Ash Costello and everyone. And we've all and they're all so proud of me. And I said, oh no, my sisters, I'm bringing you all with me. I'm carrying you on my shoulders, and I am going to represent all of the women who love heavy metal because there is something to be said about a woman in hard rock and heavy metal. We have a lot to rage about. So there's a difference between the reasonings why men get into heavy metal and why women do. It's like, yeah, we're out for blood.
Since the beginning of your career, you have been a voice for those who often cannot speak out, helping and supporting causes, and mainly being a role model for those who feel like they don't fit in. So there's always love and empathy wherever you go. But when Liz's energy runs out, how does Elizabeth recharge her batteries?
Hmm. I want to say when my balance gets off, I have a motto now that I live by, whereas you cannot spill yourself for other people until you fill your own cup up first. And I would like to cite not only this band, not only, working through my problems through writing, but also the men who are in my bands, my brother RJ, my partner Joe, and my other brother Josh. They have saved me more times than not. Saved me from myself, saved me from the darkness of the world, saved me from help me rebalance my life. And they've carried a lot of weight for me when I couldn't carry it by myself, when it got too heavy. And I'm so thankful. If I can say one of my biggest accomplishments in life was not letting anyone take my band from me. When we were shopping to labels for the first time, I can't tell you how many times somebody said, "Oh, you should just be a solo artist. Oh, you should get into pop music, lose your band." And I fought very hard to keep everybody together and make sure, because my dream was always to be in a band with my brother, and so I was not going to throw that away just because some stuffy old white men thought that they had a better idea. But I'm so grateful for that because no matter what has happened in my life, good, bad, and ugly, these boys have always been there for me. They've been unapologetically truthful. We are not afraid to have the hard talks. They are not afraid to have small and many interventions with me about, hey, are you okay? What's going on? Hey, you screwed that up. Don't do it again. It's like, and they are never going to be yes men to me. They are never going to tell me what I want to hear. They're going to tell me the truth. And so um, I think that anytime that I feel like I need a pick me up, it's with them. And in a much more positive sense, I laugh to the point of tears every single day because somewhere along the line, we're never going to grow up. That's just the point. We're all in our, my brother's 38 and we're all in our early 40s. We are perpetually maybe 13 inside on a good day. I mean, the fart jokes are very much alive. We make fun of each other every day. And we have so much fun. Right now we're in Leipzig, Germany, and actually where my great grandfather is from. And so we're going to roam around town and see if we can get into trouble with each other. And that's what we love to do. So, yeah.
Hailstorm's new album Everest comes out on August 8th via Atlantic Records, bringing the best of the heavy rock. If you want to know more about upcoming live dates, news, and more, search for Hailstorm Rocks on all social networks. Lzzy, it was a pleasure talking to you, and I hope you enjoyed this interview. Would you like to leave a final message?
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you so much, John, for taking the time for me today, and which is such poignant questions. I really had such a wonderful time. And also, thank you so much to all of the fans, all of the real and true fans that have been following us from the beginning. And if you, no matter if you are a diehard old fan who's seen us 100 times, or if you're seeing us for the first time, you are family. This is our sanctuary. This is a place where we are all the same and we lift each other up. And I thank you so much for doing the same for me over the years.